Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakrin, joined today by the Honorable Judge Kimberly Bandoh. Thank you so much for being with us. It's truly an honor.
Thank you for having me.
So, Her Honor, Miss Bandoh. Yeah, it should. I don't know if I should even say Miss Bandoh as a judge. I should just call you Her Honor Bandoh. Is that right? You're too modest to correct me.
I am. It's not that I'm not a title person, so it's okay.
Well, please educate us so that if we're ever in the courtroom, we know what to say.
Just Judge Bandoh.
Okay, that's what we'll say. So, Judge Bandoh, you're a magistrate judge, and you handle a number of different cases. And we're especially lucky to get you here today because our top story right now on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. I'm just calling up our website so everyone can see. The headline itself is quite shocking. Listen, I'm not the greatest on technology, and I guess it is shown in this case. But the headline itself is quite shocking, that a controversial judge has been arrested and charged with battery against an officer at a Buckhead nightclub. This is according to jail records, and it's quite a stunning set of allegations here that the Douglas County judge, who was apparently already under investigation for alleged misconduct, was arrested apparently early this morning. Her name is Christina Peterson. She's a probate court judge and facing 2 charges now: simple battery against a police officer and felony willful obstruction of law enforcement by use of threats of violence. That's according to Fulton County jail records. And Atlanta police are confirming the arrest, saying that Peterson was arrested at the Red Martini Restaurant and Lounge off of Peachtree Road Northeast after a 911 call. And apparently in September of 2021, the Georgia Judicial Qualifications Commission filed several misconduct charges against her, and she's accused of keeping settlement funds to herself instead of distributing them to other plaintiffs, violating the courthouse's security protocols during a wedding, and some other things. Okay, so Judge Bandoh, first of all, what is your reaction to this breaking news?
I'm incredibly shocked, and I did not anticipate this this breaking news, and so we have all been taken aback by this.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's understandable. It is quite jarring to hear that a judge has been arrested. And you and I were talking off air a little bit about this. Part of the reason that is shocking is, judges are held to high standards of professionalism and ethics. Can you let us know a little bit more about kind of what's entailed there and the ethical training that you even undergo as a judge?
Yeah, so prior to even taking the bench, we have judicial canons that we have to learn because we are held to the standard that's beyond, an average person that operates in society. And so every year we have to get recertified to make sure we are fully aware because things change, like with social media, that we know the do's and the don'ts so that we are beyond reproach when it comes to, our behavior in public, because especially if you're a part of your community, people know that you are a judge, and so your conduct has to resemble that position.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly what we would expect. So, we were talking off air, and you pointed out that innocent until proven guilty. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. If Judge Peterson is found guilty, could she continue on being a judge?
So probably not. It would be up to yes, she probably could, but it would be up to the Judicial Qualifications Commission.
Really? She probably could.
Yeah, so they have exceptions like rehabilitation and things like that. So it's not like a automatic, you can never be a judge again. So it is possible that she could be, because it depends on the disposition of her case. Like if she takes first offender, then it will not be a felony conviction. So after she completes, if that is what it comes down to, probation successfully, then she would be able to do those things. So it's not like a absolute, there's no way, no how, that would not be possible.
When you say takes first offender, what does that mean?
Like if your first time being arrested, then typically in scenarios in most courtrooms, you would be allowed to get a probationary type sentence or take some type of pretrial diversion because you've never been in trouble before. And if you're successful with that requirement, or whatever the requirements of the program are, then your conviction would be withheld, and then you could honestly say that you have not been convicted of a crime.
So take first offender is kind of shorthand for saying take a first offender program, something like
Yeah,
that?
something like that.
Okay, okay. And actually, that is a great segue to the next topic that I want to ask you about, and that is the former president, Donald Trump, because Mr. Trump's legal team has now filed a response to Ms. Willis's motion to dismiss his appeal, right? He, of course, has appealed this ruling basically to remove, he wants to get Ms. Willis removed from the Fulton County case against him. And the lower court ruled that she can stay on the case and that the charges are going to stand. So it's a whole back and forth. It's sort of, I guess, what would be expected. Is that what you think?
Well, yeah, definitely. So they're going to try to do every legal maneuver possible to try to get this trial, actually start going. And so I'm not surprised that they have tried to use a unconventional vehicle to try to get this interlocutory appeal halted so that they can actually start the trial process.
When you say unconventional, what do you mean?
So typically when a judge grants a certificate of what we refer to certificate of immediate review, it halts the trial process until the Court of Appeals can say, yes, we think the trial court made the right decision, or no, and we typically, or the Court of Appeals typically accepts those. If we don't accept this, then this could cost judicial money and time unnecessarily, because this question is immediate and it's urgent and it needs to be answered before any more time has been spent on this case.
Okay. And, so there's a long way to go in this case here in Fulton County. The next thing that we have coming up, I'm just changing the graphic to a more broader topic of Trump's legal troubles, because we've got multiple cases involving the former president, and now he's the first president or former president to be convicted of multiple crimes, actually. So now, we've got the sentencing in his New York hush money case, in which, again, he was convicted on dozens of counts of essentially, falsifying business records. And that's happening July 11th, and, we're going to be covering that. But I want to ask you, the conversation is whether he's going to get prison time. What do you think?
I think the judge is probably struggling with that, because I've done a little research, and this judge has handed out prison sentences for first-time offenders for what we refer to as white-collar crimes, nonviolent financial type crimes, as this would be. And then there are cases where those sentences were probated. So this judge is literally like one extreme to the other. So unfortunately, my guess is like maybe somewhere in the middle. And just because of the uniqueness of this situation, even if she or he decides to sentence the former president to prison, like, how does that look logistically? Like, is Secret Service going to hang out?
Yeah, that's a good
jail?
question. And when you say for some of the defendants they're probated, what does that mean?
That they don't receive any jail time, that they get some type of probationary sentence that doesn't involve jail.
Okay. So I guess there are various opinions, I've just seen it all over the place in terms of what legal experts think is going to happen. But is it true that generally judges would need to be consistent in their sentencing? Because what I'm hearing from you is that looking at this judge, there isn't a lot of consistency in terms of how individuals have been sentenced in the past for similar convictions to what former President Trump has been convicted of.
Yeah, so clearly legal experts all over the country have been trying to analyze the sentencing pattern of this judge. And so there's been instances where someone is their first time arrested, they were sentenced to prison, and other instances that they were not. They received probated sentences. And I think it probably goes by the facts of each case, and also the actual defendant and their demeanor, and are they remorseful and taking responsibility, and the egregiousness of the facts probably also all factor into that outcome.
Yeah, interesting. So in this case, you said you've seen everything from people being given probation time to actually jail time for first-time offenders involving white-collar crime, and that's what we're dealing with here. So in other words, it's kind of hard to say how it's going to fall with Mr. Trump.
That's correct.
So in terms of how the sentencing process is going to look, is there going to be testimony and how will the actual procedure play out?
Well, yes. So the former president will be allowed to present what we refer to as evidence and mitigation. So things that, obviously he's been the president and he does community service and the victims were harmed or were not harmed or he's paid restitution. So you get to bring up all the good qualities about your client, and then the judge and the state will bring out all the horrible things about your client, and the judge takes those factors into consideration in fashioning a sentence that they deem appropriate for that particular person.
And when you say, of course, the prosecution gets to make their case for why you should basically go to jail, prison, can they call up Stormy Daniels?
Yeah, so they can use any witnesses, even ones that they have previously used, any the victims or alleged victims. So all of these people can be placed on the stand. Anybody that was harmed or not harmed, they can use any of those witnesses and bring them back, so the court can consider their testimony in sentencing.
So the sentencing then could take a long time itself.
Yes, yeah, because it's like another trial within a trial, because you're now arguing about what's appropriate for your, this particular person.
How long do you think the sentencing would actually take in this case?
Oh, I would anticipate at least the full day. I mean, at minimum, it may be even longer than that, but I'm sure the judge is not going to have repetitive witnesses. So that might actually kind of taper it down some.
Mm-hmm. How about the appeals process? Because knowing what we've seen of Mr. Trump's legal team, we can certainly expect appeals.
Oh, yeah. They probably already have their appeal brief filed. Well, not filed, prepared and ready to go. So as soon as the sentencing order is signed by the judge, they'll be filing their notice of appeal immediately. I suspect that that's probably already done.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, they're kind of two tiers for appeal. So they could appeal the conviction. They could also appeal the sentence. And you believe that they're essentially choosing to wait to appeal it together?
Well, yeah, because the sentence hasn't been imposed, so it's not the time yet to appeal, and so because anything can happen between now and then.
You couldn't appeal the conviction before the sentencing?
Right.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this?
Well, everybody will be glued to their television.
Yes, they will.
To see if, like, the former president will actually get sent to prison, and if so, how does that work?
Yeah, so many questions. Definitely historic, and it is a first, that is for sure. So Magistrate Judge Kimberly Bandoh, we so appreciate you joining us with your expertise and analysis. And a lot of people may not be aware, but as a magistrate judge, you are allowed to do private practice. And so you do some private practice. Tell us about your practice, what kinds of cases that you take, and what would you be interested in taking, and if you want people to reach out to you.
So I do have a private practice where I actually do criminal defense, personal injury, and I practice immigration law. And you just Google my name. All my contact information is everywhere, readily available online. Kimberly Bandoh.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Judge Kimberly Bandoh. Apologize, my graphics are having a little issue there, but it's multitasking. This is the age that we live in. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And just reminding everyone, download our free mobile news app to get the latest updates on all your top stories sent right to your phone. Thanks for joining us.